Hello everybody, my name is Neculai, and it's wonderful to be here. I will be talking on behalf of the founding members of Ikedoo Institute, Vlad, Adina, Emma, and, well, me, as well as the entire team there, children, tinkerers, entrepreneurs, psychologists, architects. Last year, on the stage of TEDx Bucharest, you had Mr. Marcus Orlovsky, and he showed you some pictures that looked a bit like this one. We are going to talk what is wrong with this picture, what's wrong, what's going on in it, but also we are going to talk, mostly we're going to talk about how we think this could be improved, this could be changed. The idea is, what's going on in this picture is something, it's an outdated system of education, one which was built in the 19th century. It was built to be efficient, not effective. It was built with the idea to convey information, the minimum education information, to as many children as possible. The problem is that today we are in the 21st century, and the future is coming ever faster at us. We do not know the jobs we have to prepare our children for tomorrow. So we think that a change is in order. We have to prepare children to be more cooperative, more emotionally balanced, more creative. So our story began 3 years ago with an idea that Vlad had, and that sent us all in a state of frenzy. One which is similar to children who discover something on their own. But before I tell you the idea we had, I am going to tell you about the problems we faced when, like happy little children, we went to the grown-ups to tell them of our idea. We were faced with condescendence, we were faced sometimes with aggressive dismissal. Basically, a lot of misconceptions were thrown at us, and I'm going to tell you some of them. The list is still open because we are at the beginning of our process. The first one was that toys are for playing and books are for learning. The second one was that memorizing is more important to education than doing an intuitive learning. The third one was that children have short attention spans and they can only be involved in short-term activities. The fourth one was that an academic subject can only be approached in an academic manner. Fifth was that cognitive development only occurs in children after 6 years. Sixth was that girls and boys are difficult to mix in activities. Seventh was that it would be hard to mix smaller children and bigger children, older children. Eighth was that competition is more important to education than cooperation. Ninth was that children have little, if no, self-evaluating or peer-to-peer evaluation skills. And the 10th was that the future of education belongs only to the digital virtual world. Now, you can imagine how we felt when we were faced with so many problems. We felt discouraged. We felt as we went back to a state of adulthood. But we were stubborn little children, so we got up and moved on. And well, we thought that the best thing we could do was to go ahead and make it happen. So we started sketching, we started writing, we started tinkering to make our learning materials and our programs and to bring them to the most sensible jury of all, the children. So we started with the first problem, that toys are just for playing. Now, a lot of people have started to understand that maybe there is some education in playing, but still they try to separate the two. We think that we have to, and we try to, and I think that we, in a measure, managed to find a way to increase the time of learning by increasing the time of playing. So the most sensible way to start would be to go ahead and build a modular kit of a house. I don't think that there are many people who, as children, have not tried to build some sort of shelter when they were children out of pillows, out of chairs, out of boxes, out of branches, anything they could find in the house. Maybe some have been so lucky as to be involved in the building of their own house with their parents. So we thought, what if we could take the challenges, the reality of building, and scale it down, not to miniature size, like in most toys, but to scale it down to their size. To make a house out of real materials, wood, cardboard, metal, screws, that would react like a real house. To give it real finishings and real fittings. To insert in it specific measurements and specific ratios. And when they would build a house, they would be actually participating in a learning experience. And that house, when they would build it, they would need to team up in order to do that. And that's exactly what we did. And then we went up several notches this summer, and we went and did a summer camp in which they did a real house. The ones we showed before are made in order to be reused over and over. They are like a building kit. This one was a real one in which they built with wood, with mud bricks. They had to build foundations and so on. The thing I want to say is that our critics, the children, found that we did a good job. And they liked it very much. And the other thing was that the parents also thought that was a good idea. The second thing we had to face was that memorizing was so important to education. And we knew for a fact that there is a problem there, because memorizing while sitting on a chair is a very, very difficult action. It's something, especially when your body is aching to explore the world. You cannot sit on a chair and memorize stuff. So we thought, what if we can find a way in which to involve the children with all their bodies? They would learn with all their bodies, with all their senses. Maybe that learning experience would become more significant, and they will absorb it with all the details inside it. So even the smallest activities that we had them doing were important to them. Even the most difficult were interesting to them, like when they had to count the bricks that they needed to do to build a wall. And another thing that we thought was that what if through effort, what if by making the task, letting them manage on their own, we just show them where they could get to, and then they would have to figure a way through trial and error to get there. And this way, we thought that we also enhanced their learning abilities. Then, there was the idea about time now. We wanted to doing involves times. You cannot do it in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 40 minutes. You have to have time. And so we were planning for activities that would last long, 4 hours. Actually, the activities lasted for long when we started doing, because we had poor timing skills, and the children enjoyed themselves so much they didn't want to go. Finally, it was the parents that convinced us to reduce the time in which our activities would take. Because otherwise, children, when faced with activities that they like, forget about time. Maybe time perception for them, and I think for us as well, but mostly for them, is about how involved they are in what they are doing, how much they are enjoying what they are doing. And we think that in this respect, the idea that they have short attention spans is not true. I think that most of us remember that from our childhood also. So after 2 years of doing houses and a program in which we thought, let's teach them history by making them use 3,000 styrofoam bricks to build a historical fortification, it was time for us to take another step and to approach an academical subject. And our first choice was geometry. First, because we had a friend who runs a school, and she said that children have trouble with geometry these days. The second one was that geometry, we thought, is very close to our philosophy. And third, geometry is very important to mathematics. If you think about it, it's the beginnings of mathematics. So we thought, what is the problem with geometry these days? We think that geometry, as we know it, is about measuring, about knowing the real world. You cannot learn about that by reading books and drawing abstract figures, at least not from the beginning. So we thought, let's create a frame in which children would learn about geometry by making it, by touching it, by handling it, by manipulating it, by seeing the real shapes. Here is an image in which they are building a truss bridge to learn about the properties of triangles, for instance. And we found that in this way, children befriended the geometry. They started to like it and they started to do better in it. And we wouldn't have been so sure, because obviously you always have doubts, if the teachers and the parents didn't come to us to tell what a good job we did. And then, after 2 years, we thought, let's think of another group of children, smaller children, because all the activities I've been talking until now are for children over 6 years old. Let's think about the 3 to 6 years old. But we had that problem which I said before, that cognitive development is supposed to happen only after 6 years old, or mostly supposed to happen after 6 years old. And we thought maybe, as we said before, the children are not involved as much. And we thought maybe the playing and the doing were easy for us, but what if we can find a way to convey the information that we want to give them by molding with it the materials with which they would learn. Here you have an example. This is the drawings you see up there are the drawings for the submarine. This is something that children would build in the lesson for the 3-6 years old, which is about underwater life. They build a submarine, they enter it, they manipulate it, they use the periscope. So what I'm trying to say is, by assembling and by playing with the materials, they would learn. And we found that when you give them proper challenges, when they do something that they like, they will outreach their potential. They will do much more than we previously expect them to do. I think this is something that parents and teachers should remember. We place labels on ages, but they are not important. Children can do much more than we expect them to do. This is also from our lesson. This is where they are being diverse. Okay, then there was the issue, we didn't want to restrict our activities to boys or to girls or to certain groups of ages. And our first issue was with girls and boys. Now, we were appalled, I would say, to see that we had trained psychologists say to us that girls will not like our activities. They like more decorating and playing with ponies. And we said, yeah, right, if you don't give them a choice. I think that if we truly want equality of the sexes, it has to start in school, in their childhood. And I think that limiting activities to one of the sexes would deprive the others of precious learning experience in their most fertile period. So we didn't care about preconceived ideas, and we went and we mixed girls and boys. And you know what we found out? We found out that girls can build, and they are very good at it. They can lift pillars, they can dig, they can cut wood. They can connect things with screws. And actually, what was funny is that we found out that they are sometimes better than boys because they pay attention more. Also, another idea was that we found out that boys can be very creative, and they like and they will like activities like decorating the house, like building gardens and so on. So I repeat again, I think that education about equality of the sexes has to start in school. Now, since we're on the idea of mixing, there was another idea, the one that we could not mix children of different ages. There were some pioneers of education before us who said that's not true. But somehow somebody didn't listen to that very much. And we knew from our own childhood that that was not true, that mixing children of different ages is a good idea. And that's what we did, because we thought smaller children will learn from older children, and they will strive to reach to their level. And when faced with younger children than they will change their optic on the younger children. They will become more responsible. So we tried this, and we found that by doing this, they would find ways to cooperate, to socialize more, and to achieve their goals in a better way. And since we are talking about collaboration, I think that it is important to say the following. We spend so much energy in pitting children against each other in schools for grades or for whatever, that we waste some of their years in futile actions. We think that competition is more important to occur in relation to themselves. Cooperation will show them, and that's what we do in our activities. We tell them, look, you are going to build a house. It is obvious to them that it's easier to reach a goal that in the end is personal by teaming up with the others. And that's what we did, and we found that it is more, the cooperation expands their capabilities, expands the way they see the world. And we kept on doing that, and since also we are talking about cooperation, I'm going to tell you something about evaluation. We have a problem with grades. Maybe we have some childhood experiences which were difficult. All of us do, I think. But we think that there is a better way for evaluation. Actually, we think there are two ways you can do that, and that's what we tried to do in our activities. Now, the first one was self-evaluation. We would tell children what competence, what capability they should improve, like cognitive, motoric, emotional, social. We would explain to them what each meant, and then we would let them set challenges for themselves. And in the end, when the program is over, they would be judging how well they fared. And you know what? The fear, taking out the fear of competition, made them very severe critics with themselves. And therefore, they were able to improve themselves more because they knew what they had to change. And the second idea was of peer evaluation. Now, we thought, what if we could shift the responsibility of evaluation from the trainer to them? Maybe doing this in a democratic way, let's say, because we thought, what if we could, how well somebody would fare would be decided by the majority of the group. We would create a more fair evaluation system, one which is closer to them, because however hard adults strive, they still are perceived as a sort of an outsider to their group. So by doing peer-to-peer evaluation, we would create a system which would be closer to them. And the only role that the adult, the trainer, would have would be to make sure to explain the rules of evaluation and then to let them do the evaluation. And that also created a frame that made them do better. They understand what the group has to say about what they did, they accept it, and then they know what to improve the next time. Now, a final word about the digital virtual world. Now we know we are in the middle of a digital bubble. We are all infatuated with our iPhones, iPads, anything that can run apps and connect to the internet. It's not that we don't love technology, we love it very much. But we think that children are real beings. They are born in a world with gravity acting on them and with the sun radiating on them. We think that before they understand and imagine the virtual world, they first have to understand and know the real world. They first have to do. It's not that we don't want to mix at some point technology and doing, but we think that for now, at the beginning of their life, they first have to do and to learn about the real world. And I'll make a small parenthesis about this. During this summer camp, we had activities that took 6 hours a day because we had to finish the house in 1 week. And we thought it's going to be impossible, and we thought that the children are going to quit at some point. The fact is that, as I said, the first day they were digging for 6 hours, no problem. And another side effect was that they liked so much what they were doing that they forgot about their tablets after 2 days. Before that, teachers were supposed to take custody of the tablets during the day. The kids forgot about them. So, how shall I end this? It is very difficult because we think we are only at the beginning of our process, of what we are doing. We managed to connect, to reconnect to childhood, to analyze it, and to understand what is quintessential to learning. We think that learning, and we know that learning, is an instinct. The only problem is that through excessive standardization and formalization, we managed to somehow take that away. And maybe that's why children don't understand, they don't subconsciously understand why something which is natural has to be compulsory. So we had two choices. We had the choice of sitting idle and doing nothing, to listen to our preservation instinct, which dictates that you have to conserve energy, or we could listen to our mental preservation instinct, which dictates that you always have to keep busy and generate and gather new ideas. And that's what we did, and we engaged on the road of making it happen. Thank you very much.